Hey there troopers, this is Random Game Channel. I'm back with another primer video. This time I'm going to focus more on designing a base and how certain things can influence a base being a reliable base and how some things can lead to a base that is questionable. The other thing I also wanted to go over are a couple of examples that I thought were really interesting that I think could tie in very well for this video. I'll also like to go over structure build times because I know a lot of people are wondering like, well, how much durability do certain structures have? And I think I found maybe a solution for it. It probably isn't perfect, but this is what I found that was interesting. Okay, let's get started with the bunker. Now with these structure build times, I've been hearing occasionally here and there and online reading that the durability is roughly tied in with how long it takes to build specific structures. So let's get into those details and let's take a look at the bunker here. So with the bunker, you can see it takes approximately 16 seconds to build. Now with the bunker, you might have noticed from your own gameplay or just watching other people that it tends to have the highest amount of durability. Like it takes a lot longer for the bugs to chew through this thing compared to, say, like a short wall, for example. So with this little clip that I've recorded for you, you can see that 16 seconds is how long it takes to build a bunker. And it's this one along with like the mobile HQ that from what I've seen has the highest durability. Now there is the arc, but unfortunately that's something we don't build, so that's something I don't have a time measurement for. With that said, let's just continue down the list. Let's take a look at the mobile HQ. So this one, you can see that it is taking 16 seconds to build. And again, just like the bunker, this seems to have the highest, or some of the highest durability for the structures that we see. So it's going to take the bugs quite a while to chew through this, which it should, because this is like one of the key structures that troopers will need to defend in the game. Let's take a look at the large gate. This is the third highest durability in the game beside the arc. Of course, you know, like I said earlier, that's something we can't build, so we don't know. But with a large gate, you can see it takes 10 seconds to build. Let's take a look at the refinery. So with the refinery, you'll see that it takes about 8 seconds to build. Moving on to the tower, this will take 6 seconds to build. Moving into the Sentry MG, that also takes 6 seconds to build. Moving on to the wall now, that one will take 4 seconds to build. You can also see the same thing with the ramp wall, which is going to take 4 seconds. Moving on to the small gate, you'll see that it'll take 3 seconds to build. The same thing can be said of the twin MG emplacement, which is going to be another 3 seconds. After that comes the electric fence, which is 2 seconds. And this one's kind of got a little bit of a controversy behind it because some people swear by it that it's a really good defensive structure to defend a key component of the base. But as we can see here, the durability, when you tie it into how much it takes to build this thing, it's only 2 seconds. So just kind of keep that in mind. A lot of people have a lot of mixed opinions about it, so use that however you want. Moving on to the last item here is the short wall. So with the short wall, that's also going to take 2 seconds. Before we head into looking into the example that I wanted to use for what I thought was a reliable base, let's go into what I mean by what is a reliable base. So a reliable base, in my opinion, is one that can withstand several waves of bugs without suffering numerous casualties and troopers having to scrum together for multiple base breaches. And the other thing that I thought kind of fits for a reliable base is that at the end of each major engagement with the bugs, roughly 80% of the base is still standing with minimal damage to core structures like Mobile HQ and ARC. Now, some other factors that I wanted to share with everyone is that a reliable base is one that tends to be one where it's easy to move around in. The ammo crates, ammo fabs, and first aid stim fabs, those are all placed right where the action is, where the troopers will be engaging the bugs. So what that means is on top of the walls, on top of the bunkers, occasionally inside a bunker, but not too often because if the bugs swarm around it completely, you're not going to be able to get in or out, so it's going to be kind of a loss on resources. Moving on to the next item here is the ammo stockpile. Same kind of idea. You want to put those on top of structures because it takes a lot longer to pick it up from the ground and then go back up a wall or a bunker to reload a twin MG emplacement or an auto sentry. That takes too long and is taking time away from the troopers that need to use these things to decimate the bugs. So it takes a lot shorter when you have it right next to you on top of things. The next thing here is how much ground a trooper has to traverse when positioning from one what was it called, like one position to another. And the other thing is that you want to reduce the amount of time it takes to move around, firing from one position to the other. And the more time it takes to move around means less time you're spent like shooting the bugs. Moving on to the next item here is that it's good to have multiple layers within your base, but not to the point where like it just becomes a slog or like a maze to walk through it. It's good to have some layers, but don't overdo it, or else it kind of just turns into a parkour game at that point, which makes it a lot harder to move around in. Next item on the list is that related to what we just said though, but the internal layering of your base should have a lot of ramps. That's going to help people maneuver from one pit to another, or you can consider it moving from like one grid to another, because bases are typically divided into like sections, just like organically. So if you can put those ramps in, it goes a long way into making the base more navigatable. What I mean by layers is that you have the perimeter of your base that's built, but then on the inside of the base you have additional layers that will compartmentalize sections of the base, so that once that outer perimeter is breached, chaos just won't ensue when it gets to the inside of the base. That particular section that got breached will be contained in that little grid, and it'll make it easier for troopers to repel or rally to those certain locations because it's been like sectioned off. So it's good to have some of those secondary layers, but again, like I mentioned earlier, try not to overdo it, because it turns the base into a maze. The other thing I wanted to mention is that troopers should make full use of twin MG emplacements and auto sentries at key defensive locations. Some examples can be at choke points, or like little kill zones. Those would be key locations you want to put these things in. And I got a couple of nice suggestions that I got from the community on Discord, so let's read that off here. This one is by the user Tysakasa. What they said is, just because a base location has a large build field doesn't mean you have to use it all. Smaller bases are easier to defend because it takes a short amount of time to move from one fire post to the next one, whereas it takes more time to do this when you have a larger base. I completely agree with this, because I've been in situations where the base is just like too large, and it takes roughly anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds to get to the other side where it breaches. Within that amount of time, depending on the mutators, the type of bugs that made the breach, that can breach a secondary layer in the base. So building big isn't always good, and you shouldn't build up to the very edge of the base, because it kind of leads into the next set of tips that Tysakasa and another Discord user by the name of Elmat0 shared with me. So this one's by Tysakasa specifically, so let's go over that one. So what they said is that troopers should start considering building one bunker near the Ark, or if you're in AAS, Advanced and Secure, near the mobile HQ. You want to build an Ark, not the Ark, build a bunker near the Ark or the mobile HQ as kind of like this last rally point that troopers can rally on when the base is like almost completely lost to the arachnids. This will make it so it's a strong focal point that people can get to and defend instead of being scattered across the base. And that just kind of naturally divides the fire support that each trooper can give each other. So I think that's a really important thing that people should consider. Because in the past, base defense builds used to be in like two camps. One of them was called layered defense, and one of them is called critical defense, I think. So let's go over the one that we see quite commonly nowadays, and this one's called the layered defense. What I mean by that is that you have the perimeter of your base built, but then within the internal parts of the base you have additional walls and other structures built up, kind of like onion. You know how onions have layers, right? Same thing with the layered defense build. Multiple layers that sections off the base into kind of like a grid. Once one section is breached, troopers can fall back to a secondary layer to defend that spot, and so on and so forth. Now the other base design that people used to talk a lot about is critical defense, where it still has like some layering, but within the base there's a designated location where you have a lot of your resources, for example like ammo, first aid stems, well, ammo for the turrets and ammo for the troopers, and that would commonly be on the ground. I haven't really seen people do this too much anymore because it's just not frequently built these days. Being on the ground when the base is breached is kind of a death sentence for a lot of troopers. You want to be up high and away from the bugs. So this leads me into kind of what Tysakasa is saying, and kind of what I've been observing as things have evolved over time. Especially with the new Carnage system in place, where, you know, the bugs will pile up and, you know, they can crawl over each other. So what this leads into now is what I like to call the hybrid base defense, where it takes elements of the layered defense and the critical build defense. So what this is that you have your layering, but then within the base, wherever the key structure is, like either the ARC or the mobile HQ, you want to have a bunker near it so that people can rally on top of it. You know, quite often nowadays I'm seeing where bugs will breach, you know, parts of the base, or bugs will just like climb over a wall, and then sometimes it becomes very overwhelming for the troopers. You can't really defend those locations anymore. Excuse me, my throat is getting a little dry and coarse here. Apologies about that. But anyways, what I'm starting to see now is that like base design is starting to shift into this hybrid model, right? And the focal point that people should start building on is that last bunker next to those key structures. I've seen it start to happen now in some of the games I've played, and I have to say it works. And of course it doesn't work all the time, but you know, it's interesting to see something new like that pop up when like new updates and stuff you know, come up through the game. So that's something I'm really excited to see and observe as time goes on, and who knows, maybe a different kind of base design will, you know, evolve, and we'll see it as we play. Moving on to the last kind of bit of information. This one came from LMAT0 and Tysakasa. So what they're saying is that when you build a bunker on the perimeter of the base, you want to build it forward, or you can consider it ahead of the walls, meaning that the walls should be built perpendicular to the back edge of the bunker where the entrance exit is. That way, you know, the bunker will stick out a little bit from the wall. And that kind of acts as like a focal point for the bugs to attack. And it's easier to keep the bugs there. And if the bugs, you know, happen to climb over that bunker, it's not going to be as severe as when a bug climbs over a wall and there's, like, you know, nothing behind it, right? So that's kind of what they mean by that, by building it forward of the wall. You'll have an easier time clearing the arachnid corpses as well. So it helps, you know, preventing the base from being flooded when things hit the fan. Okay, let's take a look at this cool base design that I ran into while I was playing the game recently. So this is going to be a nice example of what a reliable base looks like. I kind of want to take everyone through this from start to finish to give everyone a feel of what this is going to look like at the end of the match. So right now everyone's kind of building up the perimeter of the back end of this base, but the most interesting part is going to be the internal part here next to the mobile HQ. As you can see, it's nice and tight, it's easy to get around, it's easy to jump over the electric fence, and this is in a unique and very interesting location because the mobile HQ is actually built up over this bridge, essentially, which makes it really nice to defend. So right now we're just like defending this objective here, the base, and so far it looks pretty good. Now in this part of the base, you only have like a few structures here, so it's a little hard to repel bugs. But as you can see, these short walls right here, that's a nice example of what additional layering looks like. And it's a little funny thing there. But anyways, take a look at the section on the base here. Like, that's really nice. It's compact, but you still have enough room to move around if it gets lit up by an inferno bug. Then the back end of the base is kind of a more traditional shell that you would see in other bases. So it's going to take the bugs some time to break through those little short walls. You can see here we have a nice little overwatch spot to slow the bugs down on this end of the base. It interacts very interestingly with the pathing of the bugs because they seem to want to go around this instead of confronting this part of the base here, where it's a more direct approach to where the mobile HQ is. So sometimes the bugs work a little funny like that. Now, as we're watching this gameplay footage, I just want to let you know that, try to keep an eye out for things that I mentioned that makes a base reliable, and see if you can like spot some of those things.
Troopers, be advised. A fresh wave of bugs are on the move and about to hit your position.
Oh yeah, as you can see, people are building up the ammo and stuff on top of the structures. Except for the situation to our side here where that engineer is. Those are always like kind of like the exception because the engineers can build wherever they want. Gotta make sure that bug is dead. Now it's interesting to see that the bugs go underneath the mobile HQ when they should be trying to climb up the walls to the other side. Well, that was kind of weird to see that here, but it makes it easier to defend the base. Now keep in mind I'm actually playing as an engineer here, so I'm able to build pretty much in wherever I want, as long as it's a flat surface. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to utilize the layering method here to keep the bugs from ambushing me on this corner.
Troopers, a new horde wave is about to assault your position. Hold, stop, line.
It's a little cumbersome to climb up, but, if it keeps the bug off you, it keeps the bugs off you. I mean, look how efficient it is that, the troopers can defend the base here. At most, you need like maybe one or two in a center to, keep the bugs occupied. Now as the waves progress, you'll see me spending more time on the opposite end of this base, because that's where it becomes a more critical position to defend. And if you're the last one to get the ammo, it's a good practice to replace it. So here, stockpile ammo crate are placed on top of the bunker, which is good. We still have the layering. We can see the engineer is setting up shop here.
Troopers, 10 seconds
Easy
left.
to defend. And you can see here that's a more traditional approach to base building. That'll help keep the bugs occupied if they were to breach that side of the base. So you'll start to see that bug corpses are starting to stack up here, and eventually the team is going to start clearing these corpses because the bugs will start to walk up and over the wall as the game progresses. This is a very unique spot to be in. Usually I'm not really down here on the short walls because these things can be destroyed pretty easily. But with the fire support from up top and the shock beacons, it seems to be a pretty good position to be in. So See, look at that. The flamethrower has just enough reach where it can tag the bugs in front of these short walls. That Tiger, it wasn't going to make direct contact with the bunker, and you can see that these short walls are doing their job rather well.
The wave has been eradicated. Great work, Brimstone 1. Take a breather and rebuild for the next wave.
So there you can see the team is starting to expand the base a little bit to get a little more breathing room. But to do that, they had to destroy the bug corpses.
Get a move on. A new wave is about to arrive. Warm it up, troopers. Give it everything you got.
This is where it starts to get a little crazy with the base defense on this part of the base because for whatever reason the bugs started prioritizing this section. But overall, I think the base defense here went pretty good. And the cool thing about with all these bug corpses, I think it does affect the pathing a little bit. You see that they're either going to go around or still rush the bunker here. But in order for them to rush the bunker, they have to chew through these two small layers of short walls. Interesting point here, Inferno Bug, it kind of denied access to the bunker, but we still have enough of a buffer room that if it did fall, we can still use the other walls as a rally point. Now as an engineer, you want to over-reinforce the structures because it does help in the long run. And here's a little extra information. A bunker that has been reinforced completely by an engineer can tank one hit from the Grenadier Bug, no problem. If you're an engineer, you could double check that and you'll see that the additional durability that you give it will completely consume the damage from a direct hit from a Grenadier. So far these short walls haven't been destroyed yet, and the setup that we have is doing pretty good. The angle for the Twin MG turret and the auto sentry is just a perfect location here. It has enough line of sight where it's, it's clear enough to see 180 degrees left and right.
Excellent work, Brimstone 1. Check your ammo and make sure the base
Again, you gotta make sure you clear these bugs from the wall because you're starting to see that they're piling up.
The wave has been eradicated. Great work, Brimstone 1. Take a breather and rebuild for the next wave.
I'm just gonna go up to the top of the stairs again just to see overall how the base is doing. Steal a little bit of ammo.
You only have 10 seconds until the horde arrives. Get moving. Get online, troopers. A new wave of arachnids are on their way. On the bounce.
Also, another interesting thing about the corpses, if you can clear them, it helps to improve your own line of sight. As you can see, it's starting to get a little bit harder for the twin MG emplacement and the auto sentry to start killing bugs from long distance.
Secure these old field power generators. They're still of use to us.
Cool thing about the Emancipator, like, look how far this thing can hit. Can't really do that with the other pistols. That's why I always liked using the Emancipator. Important piece of information here, use cover whenever you can when you're dealing with gunner bugs, because those things can easily kill a trooper. Look how much harder it is to move now once the corpses start piling up. And it blocks a lot of shots too, so that's another thing you want to consider when you're defending a base and the corpses start to stack up. Not bad. As you can see, this base is doing pretty well. A large portion of it's still standing. This section is easily defended. The other section of the base at the back seems to be easily defended as well. This is a good example of what a reliable base is. Doesn't have a lot of downtime due to breaches and things like that. And the troopers can get to other parts of the base in a short amount of time.
Move it. 10 seconds till the bugs arrive.
The base is under attack in the western quadrant.
Troopers, a new horde wave is about to assault your position. Hold the line.
So even with a minimum amount of short walls left in that spot, it'll still attract the attention of the bugs. It'll keep them off the bunker. Now I don't know what happened here, but I just seem to have died out of nowhere.
The base is under attack.
Kind of a strange thing. I didn't see any blue blasts from a grenadier either. Very strange.
The base is under attack.
Wow, this guy's a hero. He got me up. I really appreciate that. Honestly, I think I should have kept moving at that point. But what was going through my mind at that time was that the arachnid corpses are going to slow me down. So I might have died anyways. Might as well go down shooting.
The wave is all regrouping. Build back up and rearm for the next assault.
Hey, good job on keeping this ammo real close for me.
So look at that. People appreciate when people do things like that.
Stone 1, sensors are indicating the wave has been exterminated.
So it's a nice, respectable thing to do for other people, you know. Cooperative game. You gotta work with folks. And plus having the twin MG, you know, turret up, you know, during base defense is super vital. Because, you know, that thing hits a lot harder than, you know, a regular Morita can. Now that ammo stockpile we saw on the inside of the base, someone's gonna need to go down there to reload the auto sentry. That's gonna take a long time. They gotta jump down, grab a thing. Easier to do it if it's like on top, right next to it.
The base is under attack.
That gunner bug is pretty pesky. As you can see, as soon as it locks onto someone, they're gonna try to reposition and knock you out until you're gone. Cool thing is you can use these ammo crates and even the MG itself as cover from an arachnid gunner bug. Always keep an eye out for the gunners. They can kill you pretty easy. I don't know what these two are dancing around for, but they're going to die.
The base is under attack.
So hopefully by watching this video so far you can kind of get a feel for what leads to a reliable base and what that would kind of look like. Cool, alright, well, it's almost time to wrap this one up. We might as well watch the end because you've been watching it so far. Remember, when you're extracting, you gotta make sure you keep your eyes open. Like, if I wasn't here, I'm pretty sure that trooper most likely would have been eaten by that bug there. And try not to wait too long to get out of the base, because most times when the bugs start to pile up outside of the dropship, you're not going to be able to get in because the corpses are blocking your way. Seen that happen to a few troopers in previous games, so it's just your chances of getting in are very slim once they start to pile up. Of course, you still got some people trying to farm the XP. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do for the XP, but you know, if you're keeping the rest of the lobby waiting, it's kind of the polite thing to do, is just, you know, exit out of the game with the rest of the team so that everyone can just start another match. Alright, well, that's about it for this section. Next part we're going to look at is the questionable base design. Alright, before we get into the example of what I would consider a questionable base, or you know, something that led it to being a questionable base, let's talk about what the factors I think contribute to a questionable base. First part here is that the base is constantly facing breached sections of the base. Next one is extremely large base that isn't compartmentalized into layers, so pretty much it's just a shell. Now, the internal layering may exist, but it'll be very sparse. It won't be very strong once things start falling apart. Next one is the ammo and stim fabs are not close to the action. It can be located far from where the action is. Electrical fences are not used in critical defense zones, like for example, they're not used in choke points, they're not used in kill zones, and they're used as like a primary defensive structure. Now, as we can see earlier in the video, the durability of an electrical fence, it's very low. There's only so much that the shocking mechanism of that electric fence can do before the bugs start hitting it. And it can take like, you know, 3-4 arachnids to, if you don't do anything, they'll easily destroy the electrical fence. So another thing about electrical fences, most times I see bases kind of fail when it's used as a primary defensive mechanism for either the ARC or the mobile HQ. Once things hit the fan, it comes to the time where you need to rally somewhere, either a fixed position away from the ARC or mobile HQ or right next to it. Once you know there's a lot of bugs in that base, when it gets that critical point, it's going to easily overwhelm the E-fence, and there's a strong likelihood that the mobile HQ or the ARC will be destroyed. So the next thing is that if there are secondary layers to the base, it's not a really good secondary layer if it can't contain the breach that resulted in the failure of the first layer of the base. Also, another contributing factor that can lead to a base being questionable is the lack of or the minimal use of the twin MGs and auto sentries, and that they're placed at locations where the bugs aren't, or they're not like in key locations, like again choke points, kill zones, things like that. And another thing is that if there are too many layers without like any ramps and stuff, that's also going to contribute to base being questionable, because it makes it a lot harder for troopers to traverse the insides of the base. So I just wanted to go over just like several more things that could lead to a base's failure. So these other gameplay elements are like the mutators, like the ambushes, the threat level, things like that can result in a base being overrun, sometimes easily. Sometimes the position of the key structures, for example, the ARC or the mobile HQ, that also plays a factor in how you build a base around them. For example, in the example we use for the reliable base, the position of the mobile HQ played a big factor in how that base is constructed and how it's defended, because it's built over a bridge. It's only going to have two main points of contact to the bugs. Another gameplay element that can contribute to a base being kind of ineffective or questionable is the number of players available. Sometimes you won't have a full team. Also, the trooper composition. If you don't have engineers or medics, it's going to be really hard to keep structures up, and it's going to be hard to keep troopers alive. The next thing is leaving patrols alive. Those things can increase the threat level, which will just continually spawn a bunch of bugs. That's going to make it a lot harder to defend the base when you have waves and waves of additional bugs on top of the ones that you're already supposed to engage by default. Same thing can be said of the patrols, or I guess I already talked about patrols. Let's move on. I lost my place in my notes. The other thing, not destroying corpses. So if the bugs are favoring one wall over the other and you just continually kill them there, they're going to stack up, and eventually if you don't get rid of the corpse pile, the bugs are going to use that to walk over the wall and breach the base that way. It also kind of blocks line of sight for the twin MG turrets and the auto sentries. We want to keep those things up and running as much as we can, because those things pack a really big punch. You also want to make sure that you're taking out the grenadiers and inferno bugs. Same thing goes for the gunners. Because the gunners can pin down a trooper, and not all troopers can reliably engage these long-range targets. So it becomes important for, for example, the sniper class to go after these things. So not going after these elite bugs also contributes to a base being questionable or ineffective, because if you leave these things alone, they're going to either blow the base up or kill the troopers that's defending the base, which will then make it harder to defend what's left with whoever's left alive. Also that list of elite bugs also includes the tigers, so make sure you take care of those. The last thing on this list are utilities. Any placed utility will block base building. So just make sure you're putting these things in a position where it's not going to prevent other troopers from building the base, especially if it's going to be in a critical location next to the ARC or the mobile HQ. Alright, with that said, let's take a look at this base that I thought was kind of questionable, and we'll take a look at it together. Alright, let's take a look at this base design and see what happens here. So as you can see, it's kind of built up already, but instead of building up immediately around the ARC, or not the ARC, this is Horde mode, mobile HQ. So you'll see that, you know, they left a gap in the wall here. They're improvising with the shock beacon, which is good. But as you can briefly see back there, they're using the electrical fence as a primary means of defense for the mobile HQ. Now, if the base were to be completely, you know, demolished, and that was like the thing you're relying on to defend the mobile HQ, you're gonna have a hard time keeping it from being destroyed. Now the cool thing is, I think what we saw back there was that there is a bunker next to it, which is good. It's an example of what this hybrid theory that I have in mind.
Not put an ammo crate over here, it's gonna block the entrance.
So you look at that, they're putting all these utilities down right in front of the mobile HQ, right on the ground, when they should actually be fighting on top of the walls. They haven't even built up a wall next to the mobile HQ yet, so there's a gap there. And they're gonna primarily fight with a gate open. That in itself is going to be an issue, because once the waves get a lot harder to deal with, the bugs are going to rush that location really hard. And with the what you'll see eventually, how the base is built up, is that the electrical fences will disrupt how troopers can traverse the top of the base once the insides are built. Now I could have helped design the base and like try to build some things up. I really wanted to use this as like an example of like what something questionable can look like. And I don't know why people are like out there in the center tower when they should be in the base trying to defend it. I mean, sure, like you still get a good line of sight to attack the bugs, but if something were to pop up behind the base, they wouldn't be able to reliably hit it because all the structures being in the way. That's environmental awareness, which I've gone over in my other videos. Once the Inferno bugs show up, you need to be really careful and cognizant of where they are, and you need to engage and kill them as soon as possible. because they'll absolutely destroy anybody that's on top of the structures. Look how much harder it is to walk around the base when you don't make ramps or anything. There's just no way. It's like I'd rather fight on top of a structure than be on the ground.
Back up and rearm for the next assault.
ammo. Request immediate resupply.
The wave has been eradicated. Great work, Brimstone 1. Take a breather and rebuild for the next wave.
See, instead of reinforcing the perimeter on this side, they should shrink the base back and build up the location immediately around the mobile HQ. As you can see, it's still, the layering there, it's still very light.
About to hit your position.
And one of the big problems in this particular match is that people weren't going after Gunner and Inferno bugs, they're just leaving them alone. Look how easily that thing can shoot at people. No one's going after these things, but they should. Look how hard it is for me to traverse and get to the other side because people open the gate and there's like no ramp here. Sometimes it's hard to mantle because the action won't be recognized. Another thing about what led to this being a questionable base was that no one was defending the back end. That Tiger did break through the back.
Take a breather and rebuild for the
We're
next
starting to
wave.
see some of the layering here, but it's like not quite enough, I think.
The wave is destroyed, but the bugs are regrouping.
Especially on this side, there's
Rearm for the next assault.
nothing here.
Until bug attack. I say again, 10 seconds. This is Pyre. Sensors are indicating the bugs are regrouping and sending out a new wave.
Again, this is another perfect example of how reliable the Emancipator can be. It can engage these gunners at longer range. Gunner's trying to take cover, I'm trying to take cover. We're both playing a tug-of-war there. I mean, to give everyone credit, they did turn that gate into kind of like a funnel. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, but being so close to the mobile HQ, it makes me a little worried that it's there. It doesn't look like anyone's reloading that sentry turret either.
Reload and rebuild for the next wave.
Quit shooting me.
That's like a missed opportunity to lay down some heavy fire.
Wave destroyed. the base is repaired. You only have 10 seconds until the horde arrives. Get moving.
Putting that tower there makes it even harder to get to the other side.
A new wave of bugs is on their way to your
So
position. Over.
that's just an example of when it's hard to traverse the insides of the base. I mean, you could go around, but it's going to take extra time to do so. Which could be, you know, life or death for a trooper if a medic's trying to get to them. You see the bugs are starting to breach now. People are rallying on the mobile HQ itself, which is good. The kill zone they made for the arachnids also turned into a kill zone for the inferno bugs down there. So you want to have some flexibility on like your fire positions. And look how much harder it is to traverse here. That electrical fence totally gets in the way. Not the fan of this base, but you know, you gotta make do with what you got.
The base is under attack.
See, on this side, there's no ramp wall. So if you want to get up that wall, you're gonna have to climb, and sometimes it's unreliable to do that. So I guess this base design resembles of what a critical base defense looks like. They're using the location in front of the mobile HQ as like the main focal point, where like all the major supplies are.
Lead signal booster has been set. Show the location around the booster.
The base is under attack.
Gunners are just absolutely targeting that one trooper, and you know, that's what happens when you don't go after the gunners. You know, once they see somebody, they're gonna go after them until they're dead.
The base is under attack.
Someone got a warning for hitting too many troopers. See that in the top left corner there.
Preparation for the next assault.
Management of the resources is really tough on this one.
10 seconds until
People weren't
contact.
rebuilding turrets or placing ammo.
Seconds. Heads up, troopers. A new wave of bugs is on their way to your position. Over.
So they didn't finish the turret there, so you're down on some firepower.
The base is under attack.
All these grenadiers and gunners in the back, and no one's going after them. Just absolutely wrecking the base, destroying troopers, gunning them down. It's called target prioritization. I mean, I know there's like a lot of them, but you know, I haven't seen anyone like really focus on them. This is leading to, you know, reason why this base is a little questionable. Just, you know, there's other gameplay elements. And there's only so much a single medic can do when everyone starts dying. That's just something you should see is that once troopers get stuck under a dog pile of corpses, first aid stim dart and the UAV medical drone is not going to be able to get them. And as you can see here, the trooper just got absolutely overwhelmed. A lot of different variables led to the downfall of this base. Most likely, you know, it's like the mutators, but also is partly due to the base build itself. So many bugs. Well, at least you can see in this game we have a full party of troopers. But even then, you know, when you have a full party like that, sometimes it just can't be done. If you're in a position like this, you know, just do everyone a favor. Just try to extract or, you know, throw yourself to the bugs, because at this point, you know, you're not going to be getting that much more XP by killing a bug. So, you know, the polite thing to do is just to, you know, get the game done and gone so that people can load up into another game and keep playing. Well, that has been a base building primer. Again, I didn't want to go into, you gotta build it this way or that way all the time, every time. I do enjoy the idea of being flexible. And if you are in a conversation with a trooper and they're like very adamant about doing one thing one way, just kind of like shrug it off. You don't need to like start fights or anything. Just do your best to adapt and evolve to whatever situation you're in. Whether it's good and it leads to a functional base, or something questionable that leads to the base's destruction, it's okay. Everything's always a learning process. And hopefully this will help you get kind of a understanding of what contributes to a reliable base versus one that can be a little questionable. Alright, well that's been everything for this video. We'll catch you in the field next time, troopers, and stay cool out there because it's super hot right now.